Stamford Bridge. Tuesday evening, April 20th, 2021. A team bus pulled up ahead of a routine Premier League match. Chelsea fans blocked it. One man walked out of the stadium to face the crowd. Peter Cech, Chelsea legend, now the club's technical director. "I know," he said. "Give us time." 12 clubs had just announced the most expensive restructuring in football history. This is how it ended in England, in 48 hours. The fans thought they killed it that night. They didn't. The Super League fought in court for 5 years and won, then dropped it anyway. No press conference. JPMorgan had committed $3.5 billion. Nobody drew a cent. That's the part nobody covered. European Super League, the most ambitious restructuring proposal in the history of professional football. What it was, a replacement for the UEFA Champions League, built around 12 of Europe's biggest clubs on a permanent basis. No promotion, no relegation, guaranteed membership forever. The 12 founding clubs: Real Madrid, Barcelona, Atletico Madrid, Juventus, AC Milan, Inter Milan, Arsenal, Chelsea, Liverpool, Manchester City, Manchester United, Tottenham Hotspur. How it made money. A single closed broadcasting rights package projected to generate approximately $3 billion in annual revenue. Each founding club was guaranteed between $150 million and $250 million per year. Real Madrid and Barcelona were slated for an additional $60 million annual premium on top of that. JPMorgan was the sole financier. The commitment, $3.5 billion in bridging loans, structured as a 23-year facility, before a single ball was kicked. The stated justification: European football was bleeding. COVID-19 had erased more than $6 billion in profits across the continent between 2019 and 2021. Young fans were disengaging. Real Madrid president Florentino Perez had been pushing a version of this plan for years. On April 19, 2021, he explained the logic on Spanish television. 40% of young people between 16 and 24 aren't interested in football. Teenagers prefer video games. The solution? Fewer matches, but bigger ones. Elite clubs guaranteed against bad seasons. Revenue guaranteed against relegation. Joining Perez were Andrea Agnelli, Juventus chairman and simultaneously chairman of the European Club Association, the body meant to represent clubs to UEFA, and Joan Laporta, whose Barcelona was carrying $135 billion in debt and had just lost Messi. On April 18, 2021, all 12 clubs issued a joint press release. The last good day was Sunday. By Monday, 3 of the 12 founders had said nothing to the people they were supposed to be working with. One of them was the chairman of the body meant to regulate them. By Monday morning, UEFA had issued a statement threatening lifetime bans for any player who participated. FIFA followed with its own. Boris Johnson called it a cartel. Emmanuel Macron called it unacceptable. German club executives said they hadn't been told it was happening. Managers at founding clubs publicly opposed their own employers in press conferences. Jurgen Klopp. The only people who never get asked are the coaches, the players, and the supporters. Pep Guardiola. It is not sport if it doesn't matter if you lose. Gary Neville, live on Sky Sports. I am absolutely disgusted. That broadcast clip circulated more widely than any official club statement that week. Florentino Perez gave a late-night interview on Spanish television. He said the clubs had been trying to save football. He said the reaction was like, "We killed someone." He did not appear to understand what was coming. Monday, April 19th, Tuesday, April 20th. At approximately 7 p.m. GMT on April 20th, Chelsea fans began gathering outside Stamford Bridge. When the team bus arrived ahead of a match against Brighton, they blocked it. Peter Cech, Chelsea legend, now the club's technical director, walked out of the stadium and faced the crowd. He said what he had to say. It took 30 seconds. Minutes later, Chelsea signaled it was withdrawing. 30 minutes after that, Manchester City formally commenced withdrawal procedures. Arsenal followed. Liverpool followed. Manchester United followed. Tottenham followed. By early April 24th, all 6 English clubs were out, then Atletico Madrid, then Inter Milan, then AC Milan. 9 of 12 clubs gone in 72 hours. The three that didn't leave said nothing publicly. One of them would eventually leave football entirely, not because of the Super League. The remaining three, Real Madrid, Barcelona, Juventus, no withdrawal notice. Their position, the project was paused, not finished. On April 21st, JPMorgan released a statement. We clearly misjudged how this deal would be viewed by the wider football community. The $3.5 billion bridging facility, committed 23-year term, sole lender, had never been drawn, not a single euro. The 9 clubs faced theoretical penalties of $150 to $300 million each for breach of contract. The 6 English clubs ultimately paid $22 million collectively to the Premier League. UEFA withheld 5% of Champions League revenues for one season and required a $15 million contribution to grassroots football. The punishment for attempting to break football, $22 million, and a percentage of Champions League prize money. That's what the 9 clubs paid. The 3 that stayed and kept fighting got something different. They won. The inside collapse was personal. Agnelli and Ceferin had been close. Agnelli had helped Ceferin get elected as UEFA president. When the Super League announcement went out on Sunday, Ceferin said Agnelli had spoken to him the day before and mentioned nothing. At a UEFA press conference on April 20th, Ceferin called the founders snakes. He called Agnelli a liar. Agnelli said nothing publicly. He was the last of the 12 chairmen still at the table. The point of no return had passed. And Florentino Perez was alone on a chair on Spanish television, explaining to a talk show host why the future of football was on standby. 9 clubs issued apologies. Chelsea. We got it wrong. Arsenal admitted a miscalculation. Liverpool's ownership wrote an open letter. The tone was contrition. The fine was nothing. Florentino Perez did not apologize. Neither did Agnelli. Neither did Laporta. The 3 holdouts said nothing and filed lawsuits. Then, November 28th, 2022. The entire Juventus board, 19 directors, resigned simultaneously. The reason was unrelated to the Super League. Italian authorities found what they ruled were inflated transfer valuations, approximately $600 million in manipulated player trade values across 42 transactions designed to manufacture profits on paper. Plus Valenze. Juventus received a 10-point Serie A deduction. Champions League qualification was lost. Agnelli left after 12 years as chairman. The man who had been the Super League's vice chairman ended his career on a spreadsheet discrepancy. Then, December 21st, 2023. The European Court of Justice ruled that UEFA and FIFA's attempt to block the Super League violated EU competition law. The 3 clubs had won. The argument they had made for 2 years, that UEFA held an illegal monopoly over European football governance, was correct. Real Madrid and Barcelona rebranded the project. The Unify League, 96 clubs, 4 divisions, promotion, and relegation. A genuine structural reform. No club signed. On February 7, 2026, Barcelona's president Joan Laporta announced the club's withdrawal. His reason? It was only expenses and more expenses. There was no benefit. Real Madrid issued a joint peace statement with UEFA 9 days later. The $4 billion damages claim was quietly dropped. Florentino Perez issued no personal statement. JPMorgan absorbed legal fees and a 1-cycle sustainability rating downgrade. 0 financial loss from the facility. The 9 clubs that fled paid $22 million and were forgiven by Thursday. The 3 that stayed won in court, spent 5 years in legal costs, and abandoned it anyway. Here is what the postmortems missed. The fans didn't kill the Super League. They killed it in England in 48 hours with a team bus and a Peter Cech press conference. The project spent 5 more years alive in courtrooms and winning. The ECJ ruling still stands. UEFA's legal authority over European club competition is still being contested. The Super League died not when fans blocked a bus in Chelsea. It died when Florentino Perez stopped fighting, which took considerably longer than 48 hours.